What's up, Jets fans? Here we are. Another good week of off-season awesomeness. Here we are, Jets fans. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the show, to the stream, to the podcast. This is Green Bean, and you are now watching episode 59 of Greenbean's Jets Pod, and I am sincerely happy that you're here. I know that you know that. I know that you know that I am happy you are here. And hopefully you are happy that I am happy you are here. Wouldn't that be nice if we were all happy? Wouldn't that be nice? I'll let you know about a few things today. Number one, I'm utterly exhausted. Number two, I'm not feeling well. So, and number three, we have a travel day today when I'm filming this or recording this, let's say, for you audio folks. Hello, audio folks. What's happening, audio guys? If you're in your car right now, if you're getting ready for work, brushing your teeth, and you got this podcast on in the background, hello to you. Hello. I hope that your day is a good one. I hope that you're about to do some amazing things and be happy and productive and all that. And I want to say hello to you guys on the audio side. I love you. And I'm happy that you audio folks are here in addition to the video folks on YouTube and everywhere else. Hi, YouTube, everybody. So today is a travel day when I'm recording this, and we are heading to Roswell. You know why? You know why I'm going to Roswell? You got to know. Out of every place that we've been, national parks, amusement parks, and all that kind of stuff, we're heading to Roswell because I want to lay in the desert in the middle of the night, and I want to stare into the sky, and I want to get abducted is what it boils down to. And if I do get abducted, I will ask if I can just film it and then maybe show you guys a clip. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be fun? If I show you guys, be like, hey guys, listen, this is fine. You can do whatever you want. You can implant stuff, whatever, you know, you don't need my permission, but I'm good. I'm not going to fight. Can I just film 30 seconds from Saturn or wherever it is inside the ship? Can I just show my people? And then I would tell you audio folks, hey, you gotta watch this one too. You have to. But anyway, that's where we're heading. So today we have an interesting show for you because as the off season progresses, there are different events that we get past, right? Like, so the most recent event that we've gotten past is the Senior Bowl. So we had lots of lead up. We talked about it. Look at this guy. Look at that guy. How did the Jets do? Then we watched the game. The Jets coach team won. They looked significantly more crisp than the American team, which was coached by the Detroit Lions. Lots of positivity came out of the Senior Bowl. And then we even bugged out on individual players as well that we got to see, you know, a little bit of extra something for the Jets, because we got to see players that we were interested in college could come together and actually interact with our staff, which is just such an incredible opportunity. And we got to see guys like Trey McBride, like Jake Ferguson, like Charlie Kolar. We got to see Zion Johnson. We got to see Boye Mafe and Chad Muma and Perion Winfrey and Jalen Peter and all these guys that we're interested in. We got to see how they would interact with the New York Jets staff. And it was incredible. So now we're past that. That's in our rear view mirror. And we have to kind of switch our gears to what's going on now, which is amazing that the offseason, the NFL, one thing I have to give Roger Goodell is that, and I don't particularly love that guy, okay, but you have to give credit where credit is due, in my opinion. And what he has done is he's taken the NFL from a few months a year thing and really created an almost full calendar sporting event. That's what he's done. And it's quite amazing. Remember, like after the season years ago, we would have a couple weeks of like postseason thoughts, and then the draft would come and we'd have a little bit, and then, you know, a little bit in the paper, but it was really a small event, and we would just it would go dark. Remember, it would just go dark. It doesn't happen anymore. It's constant news. And I like that. I like how they've kind of made these events big priorities for us fans in the offseason, like the Senior Bowl. And obviously the draft is a mega event now. It's like a mini Super Bowl. So we're going into this next period in the offseason. And that is where we start really talking about free agents. We have about a month, couple days more than a month before the free agent period opens. So when you talk about free agency, Jets fans in particular, we get starry-eyed, right? We want, what if we were able to get Thuney and Lindsley and Galladay? Ooh, wow, oh my God, what would it mean? This is what we do. We do it every year. And why do we do that? Because the first year in free agency, which if I remember correctly was 1992, I remember I was working for Rainbow Caterers in Little Falls. You guys have heard me with stories about Rainbow Caterers in Little Falls. I was working for them. And, the lunch trucks, the roach coaches, as you call it. I worked at the hub of that where they would all come and get their supplies and then before they went out to construction sites and did all the thing. I worked there. And I remember I would read all the newspapers because we had all the newspapers there that the drivers would take to sell and everything. So I remember seeing in that place, in that building, the New York Jets signed Leonard Marshall. This was the first free agent period ever. Remember, they went through a court case with the NFL trying to lobby for the rights to be free agents. Like, it wasn't always this way, guys. You younger fans, you don't know. You just think this is the NFL. It wasn't always this way. Players were kind of locked. They didn't have much maneuverability, at least not as much as they have today. And Freeman McNeil, our running back, was actually a part of that group that, I don't want to say sued, but they went to court against the NFL and they won their free agent rights. And that first year of free agency, I opened the newspaper and the Jets signed Leonard Marshall, which was a big crosstown guy. He played with Lawrence Taylor. He's part of that vaunted Giants 86D. Leonard Marshall, like, wow. And then the next day it was Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott is going to be a New York Jet. So we got Leonard Marshall and Ronnie Lott. Then we entertained Reggie White. He was on his tour and it looked like we might sign him. It was like, oh my God, if we get Leonard Marshall, Ronnie Lott, and Reggie White, oh my God. So he comes and Reggie White says, if the Jets had a quarterback like Boomer Esiason, I would sign. What did the Jets do? The next day, big news. The Jets signed Boomer Esiason. It was like, I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. And then we were talking about this guy and that guy. Reggie White, as we know, ultimately did not sign with the Jets. He signed with the Green Bay Packers and was utterly amazing up there. But then in the draft that year, the Jets had, I think it was the 4th overall pick or the 3rd overall pick, and we traded with the Arizona Cardinals to get John with just one flip. They moved up one spot, gave us running back Johnny Johnson, who was fantastic. And we got Johnny Johnson and then picked Marvin Jones. And it just seemed like, that started our engines as Jets fans. And we have been that way with those expectations ever since. We just think, let's go out and buy ourselves a team. That's what we think. But as we know, it has not always worked out. Even that team didn't really work out. I mean, we were good. We had good years and everything. But generally speaking, it didn't work. Mike Tannenbaum probably did the best job with acquiring players and putting together a team that was essentially purchased in many respects. Chris Jenkins and on and on and on and on. Thomas Jones, whatever else. We went out there and signed these guys or made crazy trades for guys. And so now Jets fans are in this pocket where we're used to it. We're used to the offseason being exciting in that way. And in comes Joe Douglas. And he says, this is baloney. This is not how you build a team. It's not how you sustain success. And we need to really take a look at this place because you guys have been in the basement for far too long. You had 2 good years here, and then you have 8 bad years. You have 3 good years here, and then you have 5 bad years. So that's what's been going on. And even when we were good, it felt like we were capped at many years. Not in 2010, it didn't. It felt like we were the best team in the league. But most of the time, it feels like, okay, we have a good team. We can compete with anybody. But when we play these guys, they're going to kick our ass. Like it felt that way. whether it was the Steelers or the Broncos, whoever it was that year. It just always felt that way. So what Joe Douglas came in and is trying to do is say, we need to build an actual foundation here. I need to gut this place and get rid of all these turds, all these weak links all over the place. You know, they say a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And we have 10 weak links. So what is this chain supposed to do? It's going to break and smash and fracture all over the place. So Joe Douglas is doing it the old-fashioned way, the Ravens way, the Steelers way. These guys have built prolonged success over decades by focusing on the draft. Now, you can make a trade or two here or there. You can move up. You can move back. You can do those things here or there. But when your success is contingent upon those things, it doesn't seem to work. So Jets fans still have that feeling, that expectation that we need to do the big thing. And we haven't seen that since Joe Douglas has been here. So now we're going into the free agent period and we can't help it, right? We're starting to think, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about DeVante Adams? Ooh, the Jets could go get I'd pay him $30 million. $30 million. Whoever pays DeVante Adams $30 million, I just don't know how. I mean, if you have a quarterback, that's $30 million. I don't know how you can have a team if you pay a wide receiver $30 million. But we'll see how that goes. With all sincerity, I hope it's not the Jets. As much as I would love to have a player of that caliber, $30 million. That's nuts. It's nuts. I just don't get it. But Jets fans, a lot of us are, even if we're not outwardly saying it, we're secretly hoping. I hope the Jets figure out a way to get DeVante Adams. Why? Because that's our lineage. That's our bloodline. That's what we do, you know? It's like, I come from a long line of winemakers. Well, what do you do? I don't know. I think I'm going to be a winemaker. That's my family expects me to be a winemaker. Why? Because we have a long history of winemakers. Same thing applies to Jets. We have a long history of being the big splash team in free agency, overpaying, all that stuff. Even recently, Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley, Anthony Barr. Remember that? So we go into this offseason, and I think that if you pay attention to the way that it's gone since Joe Douglas has been here, the first thing that we need to realize is that he's systematic, right? He's systematic. Now, the last couple of years have been in large part tearing down the team. Like, that's where the efforts have been, you know, getting value, getting resources out of the guys that we don't want, whether it's Leo, Avery Williamson, Sam Darnold, Jamal Adams, and then even like guys like Steve McClendon, Chris Herndon, and on and on and on. I mean, these are guys that at one point the New York Jets figured were part of the solution. All of them. Every single one of these guys were brought in to be part of our solution. Joe Douglas realized that's not the case, and he got rid of them. So like that part's pretty much done. Pretty much done. Anybody else who we're not going to keep is going to be just allowed to leave. We don't have to do any of that work anymore, unless it was C.J. Mosley, unless we're going to do something there. That's the only guy really left from the McCagnon spending sprees that Joe Douglas could have to deal with. But when you look at the way that the team is now, like, this is the first year that we're not going to have any dead cap space. The first year of Joe Douglas's tenure. He's going to his third offseason. And this is the first year he's not carrying dead cap money from McCagnon's errors, right? So we're clean. So when you look at his systematic approach, what should be next? The next thing should be, and really has to be, our own guys. Now, there are rumors coming out. Number one, there's a big rumor that Joe Douglas doesn't care about his own players and he just, there's no loyalty and all that jazz. Now, that comes from the stuff I was just talking about, which is that Joe Douglas has, in large part, gotten rid of all these guys, but none of them were his, right? He did cut a couple of his own guys, but, mid to late round pick types. He hasn't really felt any loyalty to McCagnon's guys or Idzik's guys, if there are any of them left. I don't even know if there are any Idzik guys on the team. But so we have some guys, and there are rumors flying everywhere. Rumors flying everywhere. Joe Douglas is cheap. He's a bargain basement chopper. So if somebody asks for a little bit of money, he's not going to pay it. He has no loyalty. He's not going to get into that sort of stuff with overpaying a guy because of emotional reasons and all that, which is a positive but can aggravate, right? We can be upset. The one that upset us the most, I think, in recent years is Robby Anderson, who maybe it made sense, maybe it didn't. But Joe Douglas wasn't willing to pay him the $12 million a year about. So Robby Anderson had that good year and made us all upset. You know, we could have got, we cheapskates, whatever. So that's the one that kind of sticks out a little bit. He did not have the same year last year, so maybe now it's settling down. But Jets fans would like to see us retain some of our own guys, right? And I think it's smart to retain some of your own guys. We did just see an extension with John Franklin Myers, JFM, so that was positive. Seemed like he disappeared right after he got the contract. We weren't happy about that. But JFM is a consistently good player. He's, I think he's part of the long-term solution. Joe Douglas thinks so as well. And I think that's a positive, right? So it could be an indicator of things to come with guys that Joe Douglas likes or brought in himself and legitimately thinks are part of the solution, then he's going to do that with. If they don't, Marcus May probably is going to be allowed to leave. Now, we could have maybe gotten some trade value for, I don't know, whatever. The Marcus May thing is interesting. But I think you're going to see him allowed to leave. If we do re-sign him, it's probably going to be a 1 year, $4 million prove it kind of a thing because of all the stuff going on with Marcus May. But when you look at our free agents, let's start with arguably the biggest one, the biggest name, and the guy that should be drawing most of the attention is Foley Fatuikasi. Now, Foley Fatuikasi is a guy that Mike Maccagnan picked in the 6th round. What an interesting thing, because this is a very, very rare hit by Mike Maccagnan in this 6th round. Now, should Foley have been taken? Probably not, because we had this guy, Sam Darnold, and Mike Maccagnan just refused to get him any weapons, any offensive line. He didn't do anything for this poor kid. He gave him Chuma Edoga, Trevon Wesco, Chris Herndon, Trenton Cannon. Like, that's what he gave Sam Darnold. And so when we were at that point in the draft, I was really hoping that we would start bringing in some, at least even pipeline offensive linemen, guys like that. But we got Foley Fatuikasi, and he made good. He ended up being a very, very good player, especially for where we got him. And up to last year, there was a point in the middle of the year where Foley Fatuikasi was rated the #1 run stuffer in the entire NFL. Now, that didn't hold throughout the entire year, but it shows what he can do. Now, Foley Fatuikasi, he's going to be 26 years old when we go into the 2022 season. And the rumor is that Foley Fatuikasi is looking for approximately $8 million. Now, again, we don't know where the source is on this one. It just floats out and we grab it. We grab these numbers. $8 million for Foley Fatuikasi. Again, 26 years old, potential to be the #1 run stuffer in the league. But even in addition to his on-the-field play, which is solid. I mean, again, maybe he's up and down still. That can be argued. But there's another piece to Foley Fatuikasi that I think it might be overlooked by a lot of people, and that is his leadership. Foley Fatuikasi has kind of come out of the woodwork for a young guy. As he ages, he's become one of the leaders. He was voted one of the team captains last year. Okay, that's something. There's only a handful of those guys. And Foley Fatuikasi was one of them. He was voted team captain, and he also won a couple awards. He's the 2-time Kyle Clifton Good Guy Award winner, which is interesting. And he also won in 2021 the Dennis Byrd Most Inspirational Player Award. So when you're talking about guys that can play, Joe Douglas and even Robert Saleh have really put out there that they're looking for a specific type of player. So production isn't the only thing they're looking for. They're looking for character. We hear that word all the time. Character, character, character. Well, what does it mean? Well, when a guy's winning awards by, like most inspirational player, those are the types of players that we're talking about when we say character. Guys that just because they produce a lot can act the fool all the time and we deal with it because they're good. There's none of that going on with the Jets. Even the young guys, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, like these are top shelf guys where work ethic is concerned, where team unity and all those things are concerned. Like that's what we're talking about with these guys. And Foley Fatuikasi not only fits into that mold, he's up top of that mold. So when you're talking about losing a player like Foley Fatuikasi, maybe you lose that production. Maybe you gain the money that you're going to spend on him. $8 million, let's say. But where you really lose For the young squad that we're building, we need to have guys that can lift the team. And just look, Robert Saleh said these guys don't need to be motivated externally. They get paid a king's ransom to play a child's game. Great. That's all fantastic. But the truth is that when these guys are getting smashed up against another team, that without leadership, there's the potential of crumbling. That's what happens. We need guys to keep the other guys up. That's what you need. Foley Fatuikasi fits into that mix. So I think that if we were to allow him to leave, number one, the positive, we don't spend $8 million on a defensive tackle. He counts toward a comp pick, potentially even a third round comp pick if it all worked out. So there are positives to letting him leave. But the vacuum that's created by a guy like Foley Fatuikasi can be difficult to overcome. The play, the leadership. So we have to really think about this. Now, the good news is that alongside of the $8 million rumor, we're also seeing that Joe Douglas and Foley Fatuikasi's agent have been speaking for months, was the word. So they've had a dialogue for months. Now, is $8 million too much? Yeah, I got to say, I think it's perfect. I mean, I was afraid Foley Fatuikasi was going to be asking for $10-12 million. That was what I was thinking. Like, this is his chance. Like, he had a career year and he wants to get the big payday, 10, 12, 11, something like that, $1 million. And I feared that might be a little too much for a guy of his caliber. $8 million seems like it's perfect. It's a very good contract. It's respectable and it's not breaking the bank. And when you look at some comparison, JFM got $13.5 million a year average. 13.5 for JFM. So I think Foley at 8 would be a good idea. And truth is, I'm hoping that we can keep him. He's, at 4 years on the team, he's one of the guys who've been here the longest. Like, at some point, we have to have guys that are here for more than a few minutes, more than one contract. We have to do that. Is Foley Fatuikasi that guy? Maybe he is. So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about Fatuikasi. Now, look, let's say we do lose him. I think that it might warrant using one of our earlier picks but maybe not early, but a mid-round pick, third round, maybe even our second round pick on a defensive tackle. A guy like Perion Winfrey, who dominated the Senior Bowl, maybe that's a guy that you want to look at. There are quite a few defensive tackles that are worthy of taking. It's not the route I hope to go. I think just sign your own guy and call it a day. We do have a couple other defensive tackles that are free agents, Kyle Phillips, Nathan Shepard. So there are a few guys that, we could have a vacuum. Like I said, if all three of those guys leave, we need to do something. And look, you can save the Foley Fatuikasi money. If you want to get rid of Sheldon Rankins, you can lose that $5.5 million on the cap as well without too much of an issue. If you want to go that route, in my opinion, maybe you just try to keep the band together, man. Maybe you try to do that, and I'll be curious to hear your thoughts. Now, the next one I'm going to get into is a little bit more entailed, and this one's going to take some nuanced thinking. We're really going to have to take our time and identify some of the specifics on this one, and for that, we're going to get into the intelligent gripe. Oh, the rumors, they just won't stop. And we hear them and we react to them and we get upset or we get elated. And then we see a guy who disagrees with us on Twitter, on Jetnation, and we stab him with our virtual sword. We get upset. We attack each other. You're stupid. You don't agree with it. That's what happens, all because of rumors. Now, this rumor is an interesting one, and we're going to whittle it back. We're going to whittle it back to its source, and we're going to take a look at how we should, if we're intelligent, be responding to such a rumor. Now, $9 million. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. You know who I'm talking about? $9 million is the thing to say. What do you think about that? We have $9 million for a guy that nobody thinks is a $9 million guy. So what is it? What's the deal? What is the deal with our good-looking, suave, great personality, wide receiver / all-pro kick returner, Braxton Barrios? What is it with this guy? We're all over the place with this guy, all because of a rumor. The rumor landed in the middle of Jetnation and went boom, and we are all over the place. We don't know what's going on. We don't know where we are. What the hell just happened? $9 million. So we're talking about Braxton Berrios, okay? It's an interesting thing with Braxton Berrios because he's a guy that we signed off of waivers when the Patriots, who drafted him in the 5th round, they cut him, we snatched him, and he came over here. He was injured when we signed him. But word is the Jets loved him, and so we saw the opportunity, we grabbed him, and he's been here for the last few years. He was with Sam Darnold, he's with Zach Wilson, and there's all kinds of feelings about Braxton Berrios. Now, earlier in the 2021 season, namely the Patriots game, the home opener, which I got to sit next to my buddy Matt O'Leary, we watched a team, first of all, get decimated. We got our butts kicked in that game. It was terrible. It started with the helicopters flying over, and it went downhill from there, man. We did a couple Jets chants, and it was over. We saw Braxton Berrios alongside of Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, all of our receivers, all of our tight ends. Braxton Berrios got 10 targets in that game. He was our number 1 receiver in that game, and nobody understood it. What the hell is going on? So a lot of us said this is not the way to win. We brought in guys that are better, that have more upside, have more potential to be this or that. But yet Braxton Berrios just kept getting fed the ball. Why? Why is this? So it started there. And we, from Braxton Berrios, we just kind of got shuffled around. What is happening? Through the season, through injuries and this and that, Braxton Berrios has remained healthy, and he has slowly but surely just became one of the more solid pieces of the offense. So much, in fact, that I would say 9 out of every 10 Jets fans is hoping that the guy gets re-signed. We think he's our priority free agent this year. Again, we can argue Foley Fatuikasi, but there's an argument to be made for Braxton Berrios being the priority this offseason. And all of us in the beginning who do want Braxton Berrios to be re-signed thought it was a foregone conclusion. Of course the Jets are going to sign Braxton Berrios. Why wouldn't they? He and Zach Wilson are tight. They've developed a really, a legitimate friendship in addition to the chemistry that they have on the field. He's important. He's young. Now he's an all-pro kick returner, so he has that piece he can bring to the mix. Obviously, field position is one of the more it's an unsung, yet one of the more important aspects of the game of football is the field position battle, right? Braxton Berrios helped significantly with that piece, and then he's been a reliable target and safety valve for Zach Wilson. In addition to that, they've even started to add more of, designed plays to him, running plays. We saw the hook and ladder with, the pass went to Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder threw it to Braxton Berrios, and he got the first down and the whole thing. So there's a lot swirling around Braxton Berrios, so we thought it was a foregone conclusion. Of course they're going to sign this guy. Well, then Braxton Berrios does a little interview, and he says this.
Why don't you announce you're re-signing right now?
Well, it's two sides.
So that could give you the indication that Joe Douglas is not really interested. It takes two. We're right here. We're waiting. We've expressed our interest. They haven't contacted. It could mean that. It might not. Who knows? But it could mean that. And that was the first, what's going on here? Then the rumor comes out. Braxton Berrios is looking for $9 million. $9 million. Hell, we were arguing over 5 to 7. The guy's saying 7 to the guy's saying 5 seemed nuts. You don't pay Braxton Berrios $7 million. He's a 4th wide receiver, kick returner. They don't get that. That's not what they get. And just so we can look at the $9 million number, so we can understand what it really means. $9 million is inside the top 25 wide receivers in the NFL. And as far as Braxton Berrios' position, it's 8th for slot receivers. So you have to look at it. Is Braxton Berrios better than the 8th? Is he the 8th or better slot receiver in the NFL? Well, statistically, you have to say no. If you're just looking at numbers, you have to say no. So is he a top 25 wide receiver? When you look at all these guys, you start throwing out Jamar Chase, D-Hop, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Jefferson. Like, you start going down the line and you look and you go, yeah, he's not in that group. That's fine, but he's not in that group. So it starts to make less sense. He goes, yeah, but he's also an all-pro kick returner. Well, when you look at the all-pro kick returners and what they're getting, we're talking about $3.5, $4 million a year. That's what those guys get. That's around what they get. So you have to look at it that way. Now, so if you're going to give Braxton Berrios $9 million, it has to be for what you think he's going to do. Because up to this point, he has not earned that. It's very simple. As great as he is, as much as we like him, if we're looking at where the right numbers really are, he has not earned that yet. It would have to be for what you think he's going to do. Now, Joe Douglas has done that before, and we're going to talk about that guy in a little bit. But he's done it before. He's given people money on what he thinks they're going to do. And in my opinion, I think JFM falls in that category, and George Fant falls into that category. He gave him, $10, $11 million a year. For what? He didn't do anything yet. So he gave it to him for what he thought he could be. So it's not off the table that could be possible. Maybe they think he is a third wide receiver. That's all great. But that's where $9 million falls. Just so we're clear. You think, you could pay him $9 million. Well, it doesn't make business sense to do that if you're looking at it through that lens. It doesn't. Now, we want to talk about the rumor itself. Now, the rumor itself, at this point, seems as solid could be. Of course, it's second knowledge. Everybody knows Braxton Barrios wants $9 million. Everybody knows it. That's just the way it is. That's what he's asking for, and now I don't like him anymore. I'm pissed. How dare he? That's where it goes. That's where it feels like it is now, because every single person has taken that piece, whether it's, writers, whether it's sports shows, ESPN, everybody has taken that little blurb and run with it. And now it seems as solid. It seems like it's news when it's not. And here's the gripe. When you whittle the rumor back to its source, it comes from probably the guy with the least credibility in the entire Jets beat, and that's Rich Cimini. Rich Cimini, it comes from him. And let's look at the way it was said. Did it come from Berrios' camp? Of course, it's what it feels like. It did not come from Berrios' camp. Did it come from the Jets? Oh, it feels like it. Maybe that's what they're saying. We said, shit, the guy asked for $9 million. We can't do that. No, it did not come from the Jets either. So it didn't come from Berrios. It didn't come from Berrios' agent. It didn't come from Joe Douglas or the Jets. So how the hell do we know this $9 million number? Well, let's look at it. Rich Cimini was talking to someone else's agent, another agent that has no idea about the personal negotiating going on with Berrios and the Jets. No, he's not in the room. He has no idea. He talked to another agent who said Braxton Berrios, and this is the golden nugget, could ask for $9 million. So let's just look at that for a second. A reporter with low credibility says he talks to somebody else who has no idea what's going on, that he could. Remember when I gave you the key? Remember, I gave you the offseason key. I'm going to link the video right here, right now. How to navigate through rumor season. It's right there. You got to look at key words to understand if you should even pay attention to a rumor. A guy, speaking on the condition of anonymity, we don't know who this guy is, but we know it's not Berrios' agent. We know it's not the Jets. We don't know who it is. He might not even be real, but we don't know who it is, said that Berrios could ask for $9 million. Not, I'm hearing he is. It's not even that. Sometimes if a guy speaking on the condition of anonymity said Berrios did ask for $9 million, okay, well, that's still bullshit, but it could be real. This doesn't, it has 3 different layers of don't listen to me. 3 different layers of don't even pay attention to what I'm saying right now. Number 1, it's Rich Cimini. He barely ever gets anything right. Number 2, it's an agent that has nothing to do with the situation we're talking about. And number 3, could, not is, not I heard that, not did, Could. So it's just a guy shooting the shit with another guy who said, I don't know, he could probably, he might ask for $9 million. That's all it is. That's all it is. It is nothing more. It's just two blowhards shooting the breeze on the sideline of an area they don't even have access to, and they're just talking. One guy took it, made it a story, everybody ran with it, now we're upset. Isn't it fun? Isn't it funny? It's got to be funny. Because if it's not funny, it could get you pissed. What is this? Why are we talking about this? Two guys somewhere who have not, dude, that's like me. It's like me and O'Leary just shooting the breeze and saying, I don't know, I think he could ask for $20 million. And O'Leary puts it in an article. Somebody said, and everybody goes, what? And that's how much credibility this has. It's nothing. It's a nothing report by a nothing reporter and with nothing in it. That's what it is. That's what it is. Now, maybe, of course, anything can be right. You could, like I say, a broken clock is right twice a day. Of course. But there's nothing to it. It has no foundation. It's just smoke in the wind, my friends. Smoke in the wind. It means nothing. We have no idea what Berrios is asking for. We have no idea if Joe Douglas even wants him. We have no idea of any of it because nobody telling us anything has any idea of any of it. Nothing. 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 There's nothing here. So there you go. Now, how do you feel? What do you think? Are you upset? Are you relieved? What is it? Where are we? What does this mean? My opinion, don't even listen. Turn it off. Unfollow these losers already. Why are we talking about this guy? And that is the intelligent gripe. You know, another cool thing about Braxton Berrios, he was interviewed for, I think it was maybe Bleacher Report or something recently. And they asked him a couple cool things. They said, why the number 10? Why does he have, what's the number 10? And he said, I've always liked that number. It's a special number in soccer. My dad grew up playing soccer, so that's part of it. And when you write my last name, the 1 and the O fit in there. I-O. Bertenos. You know, so isn't that neat? A little tidbit. Another thing is that Berrios was asked if he could take 3 Jet players on an island. He could only take 3 Jet players on a trip, whatever it was. Maybe a car ride. I forget what it was. But he said, if you could take 3 Jet players with you, who would it be? He said, Michael Carter, who is everybody. If you're not falling in love with Michael Carter by now, something's wrong with you. That kid is amazing. I love him. I'm so glad he's on our team. He's contagious, infectious even. Love him. Consistently positive, perpetually positive, and I love him to death. But he said he would take Michael Carter, Mike White, and then I got nervous. Oh no, he likes Mike White more than Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson. Why? He loves those guys. He said that's the crew he would take with him. Michael Carter, Mike White, and Zach Wilson. So you see something. There's a friendship there. There's connection. Now then he was asked about Zach Wilson in general. And Berrios said, and he's gone on record to say supportive things about Zach Wilson before, but he said, he's an absolute competitor. I love playing with people who are competitors. He's a do whatever it takes guy, and I love that about him. So there's a lot of positivity going on around the Jets right now. And that, again, very similar to what I was talking about with Foley Fatuikasi. I think the Berrios thing, obviously production has to be there. Obviously numbers have to be in the pocket, right? They have to be right. But there's another piece to Berrios that I think is really underlooked. And that's like, it's a feel-good move. And not just like, oh, it's a nice story. His mother was sick and it's not like that. It's like, this is a move where like you re-sign Foley Fatuikasi, you keep Braxton Barrios on the team, and it sends a positive message. Like, it's just, okay, man, the hard workers are getting rewarded here. The guys who put their nose to the grindstone, they're getting rewarded here. JFM, Foley Fatuikasi, Braxton Berrios. This is the place. And I think that this would be a really good time to do that. And these would be the right guys to do it with. That's my thought on it. So we'll see how it all goes. But again, guys, don't get upset. Look deeper before you get all pissed off. look deeper into the situation. It leaves us with another guy that I want to talk about. Now, he's not a free agent, but we're hearing that there might be inner workings of a contract extension going on. And I think it would be good. Like a lot of people that want the Jets to go offensive tackle in the first round of the draft, whether it's Evan Neal, Ekwonu, even Charles Cross. If we're talking about one of those guys with one of our 2 top 10 picks, one of the main reasons that we're talking about it is because Morgan Moses is a free agent, and he's more than likely going to be gone this year. And then that leaves us with Becton, who is a question mark. I'm totally confident in Becton, but I understand when people aren't, right? Hey, he missed the whole season. We don't know what it's going to be. So you got Becton and you got George Fant, who is on his last year of his contract. He's going to make $11 million this year, but this is the end. So getting somebody in here now, whether it's Becton that can't make it or Fant who ends up leaving, having that tackle in-house now and here for a year makes a lot of sense, even if he doesn't start this year. Now, using a top 10 pick on a guy who doesn't start, whatever. But number one, you have a swing tackle, but you have the replacement for one of those guys should they leave in the next year. So it makes sense. But the Jets are rumored to be talking with George Fant's agent about an extension. Now, we don't know how solid this rumor is, but let's talk about it just in a contextual manner before we, really take a look at the situation from any other angles. So let's say we are thinking about extending George Fant. Number one, he's a pure Joe Douglas find, if there's ever been one. Since Joe Douglas has been here, George Fant just might be his finest acquisition since he's been here. I mean, he reached out. Remember, we were talking with Jack Conklin. Jack Conklin signed for all kinds of money with the Cleveland Browns. And then right on the heels of Jack Conklin signing with the Browns, Joe Douglas signed his first free agent, and it was George Fant. And the collective NFL fandom and reporters and media and everything, they laughed. Joe Douglas made a panic move. He went and signed some unproven swing tackle, gave him starting tackle money, and it was a panic move because he lost out on the real prize, which was Conklin. George Fant just had one of the best tackle performances in the NFL last year. He was third in pressures in the entire league, only 2 tackles better, and he was one of the best tackles in the league. Statistically, sadly, he didn't make it through the whole season. He did miss that last game. He showed that he's pretty resilient, and he stayed healthy for, 99% of the season. So it's looking like a really good signing by Joe Douglas. And again, he's going to make $11 million this year, but this might be one of the guys that you do want to extend before it even gets there. Just extend the guy. So it seems like Joe Douglas is on that page. Again, we don't know how legitimate the rumor is, but the rumor itself makes sense. This one actually makes sense, because this is a Joe Douglas find. Joe Douglas gave this guy more than likely more money than anybody was going to give him. Took him over here, gave him a starting role as right tackle. When Becton went down, he went over to left tackle, and he's had career years. Really, 2021 was better than 2020, but left tackle is his natural position as opposed to the right tackle that he played in 2020. So extending George Fant for 2-3 years even seems like a really smart move, because it takes away the potential hole that's coming next year. And then once we get to free agency, if George Fant has another great year, he could be asking for $16 million. Who knows what it is? So you got to figure out where this guy's contract is, and maybe even use the fact, hey, George Fant, I'm the one who kind of gave you this opportunity when nobody else was. So maybe a little bit of a discount. I don't know how that stuff works. They might say, yeah, whatever, man. What have you done for me lately, buddy? I gave you production for that. I gave you better production than the contract warranted, right? Because $11 million for a starting left tackle is not exactly breaking the bank these days. So signing George Fant could be a really, really good move, because, again, it takes some of the urgency away. Like, if we lock up George Fant before we even get to the draft, if we know George Fant is locked, that could take some of the pressure off the idea of drafting an Ekwonu. Unless you have zero confidence in Mekhi Becton, then it still applies. But for those guys, let's say there are guys that think Fant's leaving and Becton ain't going to make it. Those guys, tackles are the urgent need, dire. even. So it all depends on how you look at it. If you sign George Fant, lock him up for a couple years, that could be a really good move and cool some of that down. And I think it would be smart to do. Now, George Fant is 29 years old, so not old, but he's about to go to that 30-year-old kind of thing where a lot of players just seemingly fall off a cliff. So you don't want to lock him up for too long, but maybe 2 more years, maybe even 3 more years, one of those, 2 years with a 30-year out clause kind of thing. Maybe do one of those and just lock up that position. We know he's good. We know he's a team player. He's been voted team captain. He was here for 2 months and was voted team captain. So the guy's got some stuff going on, right? Leadership wise, in a similar way to that we talked about with Foley Fatuikasi. We want to keep our leaders around if we can. Keep the leaders. Keep the guys that have been here for a minute. I mean, George Fant is about to go into his 3rd year. He's one of the longest tenured Jets at this point. It's like C.J. Mosley, Fatuikasi, Quinn Williams. I mean, we don't have guys that are career Jets anymore. It's just not the way it's been. It'd be really nice to start putting some of that together. We'll see how it goes. But what do you think about George Fant? What do you think about Braxton Berrios? Now that you have the real info, man. Most people don't. I've talked about this for a whole week with people. 9 out of 10 people don't even know that they don't even know where the rumor came from. They're just reacting. And I get it, because that's how we consume stuff. It's tweets, it's headlines, boop, 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 boop. It's a headline tweet with 1 million comments. You go through it and you start to formulate your own opinions, and and that's it. You don't even know, well, I don't know, it wasn't real. I thought it was real. Why are we talking about it if it's not real? Why? And that's the way it goes. That's my job. I'm here to show you what's real if I can, right? Why not? So tell me what you think about Fatuikasi. What do you think about Berrios? What do you think about extending George Fant before he becomes a free agent? And let me know what other free agents do you think that it's important the Jets keep around? We got Keelan Cole, we got Jamison Crowder, we got Marcus May, we got LaMarcus Joyner, we got all kinds of guys. We got all kinds of guys that are free agents this year. We could let them all go and start over. There might be guys that you think are priorities, guys that we need to keep around. Maybe we keep Jamison Crowder around. I don't see why we need to let him go. Guy's a team player. He always misses a few games, so there's that. But let me know in the comments, guys. I'm glad that you're here. I got to shovel off to Roswell, New Mexico. We'll see if I can get you some footage from inside of a spacecraft with my surgical abduction going on. We'll see. I'll let you know. But that all said, I hope you have a great week. And as always, go Jets.